Are you ready for a fresh modern update to the second oldest literary work in the Western world? Stories and characters inspired by an ancient Greek poem written in the 8th century BC, polished up with spaceships and laser swords for the kids of the Star Wars generation? This is Homeric storytelling with a rock and roll soundtrack. I hope you did the reading because the test is today. Hi, I'm Dan Larson and this is the history of Ulysses 31. Ulysses 31 was a single-season, 26-episode animated series that originally aired in France in 1981. It was a joint production between French animation studio Deke Audiovisual and Japanese animation studio Tokyo Movie Shinsha. It would go on to worldwide viewership, premiering in the UK in 1985, the US in 1986, and Japan in 1988. Ulysses 31 was an international phenomenon originally produced for France, so it's important to note up front that several aspects of the show were regionalized, including some of the characters' names. For the purpose of this video, I will be using the English version names because that's the version where I am least likely to mispronounce words, and even then, it's asking a lot. Ulysses 31 is a science fiction space opera reboot of the Odyssey, an epic 2,700-year-old poem from ancient Greece. The Odyssey tells the story of Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, and his cursed by the gods journey home after winning the Trojan War. Yeah, the one with the big horse. If you want to know more about that, read the Iliad. Odysseus, known as Ulysses in Roman and Latin translations, helped win the Trojan War. But winning wasn't enough, and he decided to spike the ball. He and his fellow soldiers not only killed the men of Troy, they didn't just enslave the women and children, but they desecrated the temples, and that was when the gods decided they'd gone too far. Odysseus, nay Ulysses, spent the next 10 years fighting against the forces of the gods, trying to get back home to his wife Penelope and their son Telemachus. And this is essentially what Ulysses 31 borrows as its general story arc, dressing it up in early 80s European and Japanese design, saturated with 80s sci-fi fantasy art, and catapults the whole thing into the 31st century. In Ulysses 31, Ulysses and Telemachus prepare to depart the Troy space station. They have to get back to Earth soon, otherwise Ulysses' wife Penelope will be forced to choose another husband from one of the impatient princes. Wasting no time, Ulysses, Telemachus' little robot friend Nono, and the entire crew board his ship named the Odyssey. Look, no one's trying to be subtle. The whole point is to mirror the Odyssey. It's all very on the nose. Shortly after the launch into space, Telemachus is abducted by a floating ball of space energy. He's imprisoned on a planet below with a young alien girl named Yumi and her older brother Numenor. Yumi and Numenor explain to Telemachus that they are all prisoners of the giant space robot Cyclops. Together, the three of them are about to be sacrificed to the Cyclops by a bunch of acolytes so that they can be imbued with the Cyclops' sacred god energy. Ulysses, Nono, and the entire crew of the Odyssey show up, guns blazing, to face off against the worshippers. Armed with his beautiful hair, his beard, his rocket pack, lion helmet, cape, energy shield, and Ezra Bridger lightsaber gun, he successfully defeats the Cyclops and rescues the three Utes.
Did you say Utes?
Of course, like the ancient Ulysses before him, he kills the giant space robot Cyclops, inviting the wrath of Poseidon, the god who created the Cyclops. In the 31st century, the pantheon of gods is kind of like an Asgard situation. Science and magic are pretty much the same thing. Gods are building robots. Trust me, it's better than the original. Zeus has Poseidon's back. The whole ship and its crew are pulled through a black hole and find themselves in an unknown universe called Olympus. Zeus then puts everyone except Ulysses, Telemachus, Yumi, and Nono into suspended animation and casts them into space, doomed to wander until they find the kingdom of Hades, and only then may they return home to Earth.
Not cool, Zeus. Not cool.
The entire series is Ulysses, two 10-year-old kids, and a goofy robot sidekick drifting through space, exploring the unknown, fighting monsters, and fleeing the wrath of the gods. Look, if you want kids to read, this is how you do it. Make a cartoon about space monsters.
Hold on to your seats for laughter, action, and adventure every weekend on Kiddio TV. Follow Rainbow Bright and her pals, Twink and Starlight, in brand new colorful adventures. Next, the laughter continues when we pop in on the Popples. They're cute and cuddly and full of giggles. Then it's off to the future for an intergalactic adventure that's out of this world on Ulysses 31. Kiddio TV, where the fun never ends.
Beginning at 8:30 on Fox Television Channel 5.
The Ulysses 31 concept and story were created by Jean Chalopin and Nina Wollmark in collaboration with Yoshitaka Suzuki. Like any series, the first step was to create a pilot episode. Like any series, the pilot is produced in a way that, if approved, it can go right into the finished episodes list and many times get chopped up as the visuals for the opening theme music. But sometimes the pilot doesn't get it right. Elements don't fit together the way the various creators hoped, and some changes need to be made. As the first working partnership between DiC and TMS between France and Japan, the first attempt needed some adjustments. It was never aired and everyone started working on the second version. A new director approached the same story with a new visual style, new character designs, new music, and most notably, a complete redo of the Odyssey spaceship. The iconic CBS logo eyeball shape would be developed after the original pilot featured a ring-shaped ship with absolutely no interesting features whatsoever. Series music for Ulysses 31 was composed by Benny Crockett and Ike Egan. Spooky, futuristic, soaring, at times lonely, and even, dare I say, epic. But the piece that stands out the most is the opening theme by Shuki Levy and Haim Saban. Haim Saban, a writer and producer, Shuki Levy, a composer and producer, a pair of creators responsible for an overwhelming catalog of cartoon and TV shows and music from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even into the 21st century. Together their works take up about 85% of my waking brain time between shows that Saban brought to life and music that Levy wrapped around my soul. The Ulysses 31 theme is no different. Ulysses 31, the show, was supported by various licensed products, including a line of toys by Poppy, a company owned by Bandai. In 1986, they released a small assortment of figures, roughly 4-inch in scale, with limited articulation, similar to Kenner's Star Wars action figures. Poppy released Ulysses' 3-piece combiner ship, as well as a very scaled-down version of the Odyssey. They also released a companion line of larger die-cast metal figures with increased articulation and detail, as well as a series of bendy figures at the other end of the spectrum that, I'm going to guess, weren't as popular as the die-cast metal series of articulated figures with increased articulation. Ulysses 31 had a sort of rolling lifespan, starting out in France in 1981, then spending the next decade arriving on different televisions around the world, keeping his legend alive as time slowly passed, but ultimately fading away. In 2003, a company called High Dream released a No-No figure with 10 points of articulation. They followed that in 2007 with a 9-inch vinyl Ulysses figure with 4 points of articulation, really more like a statue, but he does come with a cape, his laser sword, and shield. In 2009, High Dream released a very limited edition run of a die-cast replica of the Odyssey starship in black, gray, and blue, roughly 7 inches wide with some plastic parts, incredibly fragile, only for the diehards. The entire Ulysses 31 series was released as a box set by Contender Entertainment in the UK on DVD. It was also released in Australia by Madman Entertainment, but only 4 episodes were released in the US. Most, if not all of it, is on YouTube at this point. Really high quality stuff, probably from those international releases. Ulysses 31 was very popular with the audience it reached, but with all the other competing cartoon properties of the 80s, it failed to establish a large enough audience to merit a substantial place in the last decade, as 80s properties were revisited to once again entertain the generation that grew up with them. Ulysses 31, like most of the DiC Entertainment library, is currently owned by a company called Wildbrain through Cookie Jar Entertainment. Prior to 2006, the rights were owned by Saban International and Jetix Europe. There are no current plans for a TV series or movie or immersive VR experience. Ulysses 31 had everything: a giant robot space cyclops, beautiful long properly conditioned hero hair, capes, lion helmets, the land of the dead, lightsabers combining spaceships, time travel, Scylla and Charybdis, disco and rock and roll. It had the inherited pedigree of one of the oldest known works of Western literature and one of the best theme songs ever. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy or become a YouTube channel member. Both Patreon and YouTube channel membership have the same exclusive content, so choose your own adventure. Please share this video and let us know in the comments down below if this is all new to you. I have to admit that I really didn't know much about it all prior to producing this video, but I also have to admit that I thoroughly enjoyed episode 23, where Ulysses 31 goes back in time and meets up with the original Ulysses from the Odyssey. I would recommend reading the Iliad and the Odyssey before watching that episode. You owe it to yourself to really enjoy it to the fullest.
I'm not reading anything.
They're poems. How long could they be?